Welcome to our Breakthrough Podcast, coming to you live from Ohio, taking you from a breakdown to a breakthrough, from pain to purpose, from your past to living your greatest story. Stay locked in. I'm your host, vernaetaylor. Welcome to our Breakthrough Podcast. I am your host, vernaetaylor, and I'm so happy about what we have going today and who we have for today's episode. But I'm glad that you're here with us today because our Breakthrough Podcast is all about taking you from pain to purpose, from breakdown to breakthrough, from your past to daring to live your greatest story. And I'm super excited that we have Ruth Ann Thompson today to talk with us about her story. So I'm so excited that you're here today. How are you today, Ruth Ann?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you're here too. And so tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Ruth Ann Thompson. I am a court reporter by trade, but I am an author, a speaker. I'm a comedian, just kind of a little bit of everything, just doing everything I can to live my dream. One of my books, may I show it?
Yes.
Is it too early? I don't know if I'm centered right.
Mm-hmm.
Dancing in My Tattered Pink Dress.
Yeah.
And the subtitle is Grief, Guts, and Glory. I feel like I did that all wrong.
That's okay, but you said the title.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Grief, Guts, and Glory. And we got to get into that. So
okay.
That's a good conversation starter. So you did good. I love that. Oh my goodness. Well, first off, there you have it. She is an author. So let's talk about your story and what this story is about and where it all came about.
Okay. Well, the title, Dancing in My Tattered Pink Dress, is the story of really how I got discovered. I was born immediately into care, foster care, into an orphanage. Biological mother never held me, never even had me placed on her stomach as you do a newborn baby, just didn't touch me. And I immediately became a ward of the state of Michigan. Wow. And so some kind of way, when I was about 4 years old, I was dancing in the corner in this tattered pink dress. And a social worker who came just to view the feasibility of the physical plant of the orphanage saw me dancing. Wow. And it just kind of reminds me, I know different people are on different spiritual journeys, but I feel like whatever your belief is, that God or your higher power sees you, even when no one else sees you. And so I thought I would start there and use that as the title, just to kind of, so through the whole story, it's all about continuing to dance, even if no one's watching. Keep moving forward, even if you're in a place, a colorless place where you don't have your own identity. I mean, when you think about it, I didn't know the word mom or mother or dad as a young child until I was over 4 years old and came home. Had no idea what that was. Everyone who cared for me originally was paid to do so. Wow. And so, there's all this talk about those first few years of life. That's where you get your security and your identity. And, you have people that love you. I mean, there are people who will fall in love with a baby who won't want anything to do with a teenager, Right. But for me, I don't know what that story looks like. I don't even have pictures of myself from that time.
Okay.
So,
wow, you said so many beautiful things, and I'm so glad we started here, where you just talked about identity. You talked about dancing even when no one's watching. Like, oh my gosh, the beauty of that, I could just picture it, right? Because when you don't think someone's watching, you're uninhibited, right? You're completely
Exactly.
free. And so I could just picture this little girl in the corner in the pink dress dancing, and just the innocence of children. So I
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that. And I think it was really beautiful to start there about you trying to explore and find your identity. So talk to us
Mhm.
about how, you said you're 4 years old. You didn't have the biological sense of a mother, but there were people clearly nurturing and mothering you. How long were you there, and at what point were you placed with a family, and what was that like for you? Talk about that if you can.
I I talk about this thing, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to it, but when things go really badly in my life, it's as if my mind does not register color.
Gotcha.
So I remember at 4 years old finally having a mother and a father, and then it felt like the world became vibrant to me.
Wow. So
My
like to bright
memories
color.
my memories before that, everything was gray. In fact, I used to just think, oh, maybe the walls were gray and the bed was gray, and I realized as things have happened in my life since that something in me turns off the color of life.
Mm.
And so I remember riding home in the car for the first time and seeing the blue sky and the green leaves on the trees. And I remember eating a sandwich. I talk about it in the book, and it had yellow mustard on it.
Oh,
That
that sounds
color was just so vibrant to me. It
lovely.
almost hurt my eyes. So finding my home, I know I didn't find it, but finding my home, coming home was another word that had never wasn't part of my vocabulary, being
Right.
home. And so I just remember experiencing this burst of life and color and
Mhm.
smells. And it's like all my senses were suddenly heightened. And
Mm.
I was, able to see and smell and touch and taste all and hear all these things that up to that point had not been a part of my existence. I
Right.
realized, yes, I had seen, yes, I had heard, yes, I had tasted, yes, I
Mhm.
had touched, but not to that extent.
Wow.
Um, there's a scene in The Wizard of Oz
Mhm.
where
Right.
everything suddenly becomes technicolor, and
Yeah.
that's a great example of what my life felt like coming home.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
first off, let's just talk about how you paint imagery with your words. It's almost poetic. I could picture it as you were speaking about it, as
Mhm.
the frame turns from gray or black and white to color, and the vibrancy that you discussed.
Yeah.
My goodness, it's so vivid that you have that. That's the way you remember it, and
Yes.
at a young age that it was so real. It was almost like it was tangible.
Mhm.
Um and and that's really really interesting, because a lot of times, I know for myself it's a blur. I don't
Mhm.
have memories. Much to your point, I wasn't adopted, but I don't have memories of myself and my mother. So I don't really know where it all started. I just know
Yeah.
my grandmother, and I
Yeah.
know I was a baby in these pictures. And I know my mom was there, but I, I don't know. I don't have baby pictures. So it's like, wow, it's almost like as if you would be writing my story or painting a
Mm.
painting of this depiction of this story.
Yes.
So this car ride home, you're
Mm.
going home. You're going home to the family that's going to take care of you now that they've
Yes.
adopted you, or they just fostered you for a
No,
time.
they adopted me.
Wow.
My mother was unable to have children,
Okay.
which she loved children. She always worked with the youth groups in the church and that kind of thing. And she told me later that bringing me home was that was the one thing that finally healed that wound. And so she tells about, or she told me about a time when they told her, we think we have a child for you, but if you see her and you don't want her, you have the right to say no. And she said she could barely sleep that night. And she was just in prayer and just saying, Lord, please, because she knew, especially then in the early 60s, people didn't want children, they wanted babies. And
Right.
so if you weren't adopted by the age 2 or 3, you were almost considered unadoptable.
Wow.
And so she knew that if she saw me and for whatever reason didn't want me, that would probably mean that I would never have a home.
Wow. Oh my God.
But she says when she and Daddy came to see me, that I went right to Daddy and just like showed him a purse that was broken. It was as if I already knew that those were my parents.
Oh
And
my.
so they took me a couple times, like just to spend time with me, but they were actively working to adopt me. And so the ride home was the ride home.
Oh my goodness. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I just
Yeah.
got chills with that story because you're right. Kids know, like the innocence of the child, right?
Mhm.
Kids always have this intuition, right? You notice how when a kid is kind of apprehensive to go to someone, right?
Exactly.
Versus running to someone and just
Exactly.
automatically just
Just
feeling the warmth and feeling, the love and feeling
mhm.
welcome. It's funny that as a child you felt that immediately,
Yeah.
and then you ran to them, and oh my goodness, that's so
Mhm.
beautiful. And I didn't even know that. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I didn't even know that was the perception, that if you weren't adopted at a certain point, which is so young.
It's
For
so
me,
young.
I
Yeah.
love, like, my favorite age group is 2 to 5. People think I'm crazy, right?
I
I don't
love
have
that
kids.
age.
But 2 to 5, are you kidding me? And to be unadoptable? Are you kidding?
Right.
I love
Yeah.
kids when they're that age.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't imagine that. So
But I just want to put a little plug in.
yeah.
Even now, there are children who age out of the foster care system who
Ooh, talk
never
about
have a home.
now. Talk about that aging out. What does that mean, and what
Age
is that age?
aging out means you turn 18 and you've never found a family.
And what happens
Um,
to them
and
at
so
that point?
I mean, the state gives them a certain amount of money. I don't know. It used to be $125. I don't know if it's more or less.
$125.
And it's like, good luck. Good luck. Now, there are programs. I am with
Oh
a
goodness.
volunteer group called Action Ohio.
Okay.
We just had our annual Thanksgiving dinner where anyone who has ever been a foster youth can come and just, I mean, they had a full meal, turkey dressing, macaroni and cheese. They had ham, mashed potatoes, the whole bit.
Yeah.
And they do giveaways. They had blankets, clothing, books, resources. It's been my honor to be a part of this group. But we have people in this group who turn 18 and have nowhere to go. And
Gosh.
those are my heroes,
Okay.
because those are the young people who say, beyond all, against all odds, I'm going to get an education. Columbus State here, community college,
Mhm.
has a program for foster youth
Oh, that's
where
awesome.
they can go and get at least an associate's, through a program. And I'm probably misspeaking, but there's housing opportunities and stuff. But you think about it, to get your FAFSA or any of your student aid, you
Yes.
need an address, you need parents signing for you.
Absolutely.
And
Just
I
knowledge of
am,
how to even fill it
yeah,
out.
I mean,
Mhm.
and my children all grew up and took their time moving on, but they still need, hey mom, how do you make cornbread? Whatever.
Mhm.
Um, And so one of the things that I think is just so key is to keep your eye out for the youth that is, maybe they call it couch surfing.
Okay.
That's where they really don't have a place to stay. So I'll
Yeah.
stay with Jimmy for a day until mom kicks me out, and I'll stay with Judy, whatever.
Right.
Um, but it is amazing. This group, but for the grace of God,
Yeah.
go I. And so it is my joy and my privilege and my honor to volunteer with this group.
Mm.
And they have been very instrumental in having legislation changed on behalf of foster youth. Because think about it. If there's a child with a disability, or parents, say like Alzheimer's research, or autism, I have a son with autism, those causes are fueled by the people who love them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if a child has no parents, then
Right.
they have no advocates.
Right.
And
Right.
so that is the one thing that I
There's really
got.
no foundation for them.
No foundation and nobody to fight for you. Somebody messes with my child, you going down. But if somebody
Right.
messes
Right.
with nobody's child,
Right.
then guess what? Nobody's child keeps getting
Right.
messed with or bullied
Yeah.
or
And nobody hears.
disregarded.
Nobody
And
cares. Nobody can do anything and show up.
exactly.
So, um,
Exactly.
oh man, my goodness. Well, thank you. That was a lot of good education for
Sure.
those that don't know about the foster
Yes.
system, that don't know. This whole idea of aging out. I've heard the terminology, but when
Sure.
you say age out where? Where do they go? And so,
Right.
thank you for
Right.
explaining that to us.
Yeah.
Um, so now you're with your family. This is
Mhm.
amazing. Take us fast forward to going into your adulthood, and some of the hardships that you might have faced,
Sure.
either at the hand of, like you're saying, trying to discover your identity, right,
Mhm.
outside of yourself, not knowing where it all started, right, or
Right.
who or with whom you were rooted with.
Right.
What was that like for you, growing into your adulthood and your womanhood, and life moving forward?
Well, some of the things that happen, there's some core things that happen or that happened to me.
Okay.
My my fear of rejection and
Mm,
my fear of abandonment.
okay.
That began to color so many things in my life. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I had been abandoned. I had been rejected, and I did not want to do that to someone else. And so that little piece um, kind of weaves its way into relationships and those kinds of things. But I did get married. I got married young, got married the day after I turned 20.
Oh
And
wow, that is young.
I was
Woo!
very, so no one could say I was a teenage
You was
bride.
a PYT, a pretty young thing. That's what you were at 20.
And, married, and 18 months later, we had our first son. Um, and it didn't take long for us to realize there was something going on. Well, that son was born with autism.
Okay.
So now I have a child who affection is a challenge.
Okay.
And as a mother, and a mother with that kind of history, now I'm feeling rejection.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but I'm working through it. We're making it work.
Yeah.
We're on our way. We decide to have another child. I was going to then stay home with both children.
Okay.
And 5 weeks pregnant, we had a car accident, and my husband was killed. I was injured, and our son was injured. I was 5 weeks pregnant.
Mm, mm.
So now I've been abandoned.
Oh man.
I realize it was death. I get that. Like, don't send me any emails. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
that's abandonment. And now
Absolutely, it's a loss.
it's a
It's
loss. It's a
separation.
great loss. It's a huge
Mm-hmm.
loss. And it changes the trajectory of your life when
Absolutely.
you are widowed at 24 years old.
Yeah, you were really a baby
I
yourself,
was a
so
baby.
young,
I was a baby.
and a new mother.
New mother. Well, mother of a 2-year-old and pregnant, injured myself. Um, broken ribs, 6 broken ribs,
Oh my
trying to
goodness.
carry a child. You know, your rib cage expands when you're pregnant. It was excruciating. I did not do pain meds because I didn't want anything that was going to harm the
Wow,
baby.
Ruth Ann. Wow.
Listen,
Talk
listen.
about that. What were resources did you tap into? What support did you have to get through that? Physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Just great. I had a great church family.
Okay, thank God for that, right?
I had a friend who her husband had dropped dead on the basketball court at age 26.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so she came over to my house and gave me
Okay, to her
a key to
house.
her home
Wow.
and
The little
said,
things.
there's just going to be times when you don't want to be alone. So I held on to this key. I must have rubbed all the little nubs off of it or whatever
Oh.
because it was just to have this key. But I will say this, um, that baby was born on Father's Day.
Oh my goodness, Ruth Ann.
No, I know you can't
Oh,
make this stuff up. I
oh
wasn't
my gosh. And did
induced.
you hear her say she was a comedian? So we
Right.
talk about pain to purpose. I mean,
Absolutely.
the fact that you have been able to take all of this pain
Yeah.
and still find joy and peace
Yes.
and purpose and life and
Yes.
color out of it is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So yes, keep
So
going.
so
Goodness.
let me give this because I know our time is sort of moving quickly. So my son Brandon was born on Father's Day. Um, I went on to have other marriages, other children, another a
Okay,
son, yeah,
okay, Ruth
guy. A son,
Ann.
Austin. Austin was born when Brandon was 3. When
Aw.
Austin was almost 10, I had my daughter Alexandra. Alex, my only
Such a
daughter.
pretty name. Yeah.
Now, and she's such an amazing woman. I think all of my children are amazing in their own right.
Yeah.
So fast forward, when Brandon was 28 years old. Brandon is the baby that I had after my husband died.
Wow.
Brandon was in a car accident,
Oh
and
no.
Brandon was killed, died as a result of his accident. And his fiance, Maria, was pregnant with their baby girl, who was born on Valentine's Day
Oh my
after Brandon
goodness.
died.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so to watch Maria go through
What she went through.
29 whatever years later, what I had gone through was extremely difficult. And yet I thank God that because I had gone through it, I had some sensitivities
Okay.
toward her that maybe I would not have had. I,
Okay.
I was going through my own grief. I had lost my child, but I also could relate to her carrying a baby after, the father was gone. So,
Right.
um, but I want to back up.
Okay.
5 weeks after Brandon was born, my father died. And
Mm.
then, so when Brandon was, so I was 5 weeks pregnant when the car accident happened and my husband died. Brandon was 5 weeks old when my father died, and then Brandon was 5 months old when my grandfather died.
Oh my
So all
goodness.
of these strong men,
Yeah.
we lost them in a short amount of time.
Wow.
Um, I've also lost, my mother. Um, I've had major losses. I had
Yeah.
a friend murdered by her husband. The last time I saw her alive was at my
Oh,
wedding. I mean,
oh
just
man, Ruth
those
Ann.
kinds of losses. Um, they they there are moments when I just say, I can't. I can't today.
Okay,
I,
okay,
I,
and
I
that's
can't.
key, and that's important because and someone needs to hear that. Someone
Yes.
needs to hear that. I call it space and grace, you know.
Yes.
And so I'm so glad that you said that because my next question was going to be, how in the world did you get through all of these different stages and domino effects, essentially, of life and loss and grief and devastation?
Right.
So that one point is amazing and key. Someone needs
Right.
to hear that. So
Right.
what else did you do? How else did you cope with all of this?
I mean, the easy answer is God. And when I say that's the easy answer, I don't mean it to be flippant. Definitely my faith in God has carried me through.
Okay.
I will say this though, there's a choice that has to be made.
Okay. Talk about that.
You have to choose joy.
Mm,
You have to, I have to deliberately sometimes
mm,
say,
okay.
this has gotten me down, but it will not take me out.
Mm,
I choose to look at, that glass half full as opposed to half empty.
okay.
I choose to see, yes, it's raining, so the ducks are happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes,
Right. Oh,
you see what I
wow.
mean? I
Wow.
cannot
How's that
say,
for perspective?
yeah, I mean, somebody somewhere is happy about something. So I have to say, I may not have this and I may not have that, but I do have this. And I believe that there should be no lack in God's kingdom. And so there are
Mm,
times when I miss my son. Now, yes, I have two other sons who are amazing, and I have an amazing daughter. They will never take the place of that one son who's gone.
right.
And there are
Right.
times when my missing him leads me to maybe another. I just met a young man a few weeks ago who is struggling in some areas. And I
Mm,
said to him, the the I will take you under my wing and I will pray
mm.
for you like a
Oh,
mother prays for her children,
wow.
not taking the place. He and I told him, I've lost a child
Mm,
at that, and so I will channel that. Now trust and believe, I'm
mm.
praying for my living children. But
Yeah.
there's a point where you say, okay, where can I put this pain? Where can I put
Mm,
this energy? Is there a child who needs some love? Is there someone who's struggling? Is there a couple who's
wow.
going through? Is there a cause that I can take up, not to my
Yeah.
own detriment, not to deplete me, but to fill me because I have chosen to let this path
Mm.
take me down a way that fulfills me and doesn't deplete me.
Oh my gosh,
So
Ruth Ann.
I
Oh,
mean, it's a choice.
you're saying so
That's
much.
when you just say,
It's powerful.
but I'm gonna keep for, and then there are days when I say, today I'm in the bed under the covers, don't call my name. I'm crying all
Yeah.
day. So
Yeah.
you have to acknowledge those feelings, but you also have to say, this is where I am now, but I won't be here tomorrow.
Mm.
I'm gonna keep moving forward.
Well, you
I'm
are
gonna keep
ministering to me.
dancing.
You are ministering to me. That's why I'm taking notes because I definitely want to reiterate this because oh my gosh, these gems that you are dropping is so important. It's so key. It's something that I really want the listeners and viewers to take away because again, it's ministering to me just in
Praise
today, just in the
God. Yes.
storms that we go through life. Each day, you wonder, okay, well, gosh, you look at other people and you're like, oh, they got it all figured out. No, you realize the work it takes to wake up and be happy. It
Yeah.
is work. It is intentional.
Yes.
It is being aware and being present. And my goodness, what really just warmed my heart that I love that you talked about
Mm.
channeling that love, channeling your capacity to love. And I think that's
Yes.
the beauty. I heard somewhere that they said grief is love where with nowhere to go. And
Yes.
but what an amazing thing, Ruth Ann, that you just taught me in this moment that you took your grief somewhere. You poured it in somewhere. You didn't let it dissipate. You didn't let it fuel other parts and other areas of our emotions and it might do that because you go through stages within your grief,
Sure.
whether it be denial and anger and
Oh,
sadness.
sure.
um, but the fact that you asked yourself, where can I put that same energy? Where can I put that pain and fuel it for good
Yeah.
to help someone else? And the way that you told that young man, I'm going to love you like a mother loves their child.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I like I said, I have chills because it really just it blessed me in such a way where, like you said, it is about the perspective. It is about, well, thank God, like you said, you're rooted in your faith.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just so excited about everything that you said. And I'm so excited about the people that are going to hear this and whose lives will be transformed, or will
It's
they
my
will
prayer.
see the glass half full instead of empty, where they can see, oh wow, there's something I can do with this pain, and I can still grow from it. I can still live. I mean, the
Yes.
fact that you said that you found love in other ways, whether you got married again, you had other kids, and you love them. You didn't
Yes.
you didn't
Yes.
take away that love, or be or abandon them in a way where you felt like, oh well, I lost this one child, so you felt like it was a
Yeah.
wash. No, you continue to love them, and there's
Right.
something to be
And
said
I
for that.
I'm sorry, I have to say this. We were all in so much pain. I do not think that I handled my grief the best. We've
Okay.
just had conversations. I've just had conversations. Brandon's been gone 8 years.
Mhm.
And like my one child said to me, "You kept asking how I was doing, but you didn't ask how I was feeling." So in my mind,
Okay.
that's what I was asking, but I understand that because and trying to be strong for them
Mhm.
and them not really seeing me in those breaking moments. I mean, it's an impossible situation.
Right. There's
It's
no
an
book. There's no rule
impossible.
book. It's
Yeah,
going to be
there's
different
no
for everybody.
yeah, yeah. And I didn't take offense to it because we all have, we all lost the same person, but we all had a different relationship with that person.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Okay.
I'm grieving as a mother, they're grieving as siblings. My son said, I thought we were going to be sitting out on the back porch, drinking sweet tea and watching our grandchildren play together.
Mm.
And so you're prepared for a parent to leave you maybe sooner than you want
Right.
it, but your sibs, your cuts, the ones who remember the time when mama did this, or remember that,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And so I encourage everyone who's going through this, seek help outside of yourselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
which we did. We've all been in counseling, and
Yeah. Thank
and
God
and
for
we're
that. Yeah.
yes, we're
Let that be
just getting
known.
to the
Yeah.
point though where we can really kind of talk about just how holidays are hard, they're
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
These different
Right.
things. So I apologize. I'm kind of jumping in there, but I just wanted to say that too, that even being self-aware, we
Hmm.
can still miss some pieces, and we have to be gentle with our processes, whatever that is,
Yeah.
as we go through the grieving process, because it is multi-layered.
It
It
goes in
hits at
waves.
weird times.
Yes, it sure
You
does.
think you're fine, and then boom, you're down up under the bus, I say. So it just hits at these random times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, oh my goodness, we're going to leave it there. I mean, we can even
Okay.
do a part two at some point, but you gave so much value. You poured so much of yourself and to the people that are listening. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for your
Thank
vulnerability.
you.
Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for still showing up for yourself. Okay. All
Yes.
right. I mean, you are living, you are thriving, you are smiling, you are vibrant, you're a comedian, you're ministering, and you're loving on your children and those other outside of your children or outside
Mhm.
of your family that need love as well. And so there is
Yeah.
something to be said about that. I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank
And
you.
I want you to tell the people where they can find you in terms of, whether it be social media, if you want an email, and if there's something in your business that you are really promoting right now that you want
Mm,
people to get, go ahead and do that and let them know so
sure.
they can definitely follow up with you because they may need to follow up after this.
Okay, yeah. So my website is RuthAnnThompson.com. It does not have the hyphen in it like you'll see as my name is listed. RuthAnnThompson.com. On there are all my products. I'm excited about a new children's book that it's ready for print. I literally gave the go ahead today.
Yeah.
It's called Puzzles in the Open Field. It's a children's book that brings light to autism and those on the spectrum. Autism spectrum. I'm really excited about that project. And of course, my book, Dancing in My Tattered Pink Dress. I understand that people use it as a book club book. I'd love to talk to a book club about it if anybody would want me to come and talk. I'm just excited. I'm so thankful to you, Renee, for having me on here. I mean, this is just so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. I mean, I'm just excited for the children's book. I'm excited about, like you said, shedding light on autism. That is amazing. And shout out to my little cousin, Anwar, who is on the autism spectrum. But he's amazing. I mean, all of our babies are just amazing. And I still call them babies. My nephews, I call them babies. I look at them like, oh my gosh, even though everybody's like towering over me. So I think they'll always be babies in my mind. But thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for our viewers, those that have been listening in. You are listening to our Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Ann Thompson. This is where you will get the tools to go from pain to purpose, from breakdown to breakthrough, from your past to living your greatest story. I thank you for being with us. Make sure you like and subscribe. I will make sure that we have all the information from our guest today in the show notes so that you can follow up. But make sure you like and subscribe and keep plugged in. And until next time, keep breaking through.
Yes.
Love you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to our Breakthrough Podcast, where we learn to navigate life's challenges and dare to live our greatest story. Follow our Breakthrough Podcast across all media platforms and subscribe. I'm your host, Vernaetaylor. Till next time, keep breaking through.